for us to recognize a rehabilitated king. Ah, wait, sorry, he can't be king. Christ is king. Kanye West says Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street made me like Jewish people again. No one should take anger against one or two individuals and transform that into hatred towards millions of innocent people. Rapper writes in return to social media. No Christian can be labeled anti-Semite knowing Jesus is Jew. Thank you, Jonah Hill. I love you. So here's the thing. If it was anybody else, I would think that this is just like a cynical attempt to play in character to try to like end his social media cancellation. But with Kanye specifically, it might actually be he's on his meds again. That might actually be it. He just might have more lithium in him than before. So for those of you who don't know, like the root of Kanye's anti-Semitism is Black Hebrew Israelitism, which is I wouldn't say it's common, but it's more common than it should be of an ideology in the Black community. And essentially, it's the idea that Black people are the actual Jews and Black people are the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. Black people are descendant from Christ and they're a chosen people the way that Jews claim they're a chosen people in their texts. So for him to say, no Christian can be labeled anti-Semite knowing Jesus is Jew, to me, like, I mean, he's saying right here that Jonah Hill is Jewish, which is a repudiation of the Black Hebrew Israelite theory, right? Like, a Black Hebrew Israelite would never group Jesus and Jonah Hill in the same category of Jew, because that's a refutation of their ideology. What Kanye's done before is that he believes in the existence of Jews, which, like him, Black people, and then there's Jews, like actual Jewish people. But he's putting them in the same category here, which seems like not only just a PR stunt, but also kind of like a dismissal of his ideological bias. With all of that being said, obviously the man is actually insane, so who knows? But let's talk, like, what does this actually mean, right? Because Kanye, for a while, looked like he was going to be kind of like the turncoat, front-facing representative of Nazism in the Western world. Vosh, have you considered the possibility that he's an idiot? Yes, and he is, but it doesn't take away from what I'm about to say. Right? I mean, he went on Alex Jones. He's like Kanye again. Like Kanye isn't just a celebrity; he's a megastar. And then he starts praising Hitler, Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos, so on and so forth. I mean, he literally said, "I love Hitler." You can't get more like unambiguous than that. And this is very funny. And at the same time, it's also like the Nazi community is constantly shooting itself in the foot because its representatives are all pedophiles, child abusers, porn addicts, and people with severe daddy issues. You know, like the community of people who represent Nazism are being constantly shot in the foot by the fact that they're incapable of putting forward the kind of professional veneer other ideologies are at times capable of doing. Think of Richard Spencer, right? Like Richard Spencer was the guy who was doing the civil Nazi bit. And then Milo Yiannopoulos linked a recording of him after Charlottesville where he's screaming, you know, I hate you, I hate you, I hate, because like he's so mad how things like screeching about you know, so on and so forth. And then you have like Kanye West and it's like, oh, okay, well, here we go, like this is a big PR boost. And then because he was only doing this maybe because he was off his meds, it's like, oh yeah, well, I watched 21 Jump Street. Nazism, an ideology so weak that it can be defeated by a mid movie. Just like going down in the history books, you know, if only we had been able to deploy 21 Jump Street back in 1943, okay, a lot of lives could have been saved. The cure for Nazism, getting the entire, like, all of Nazi Germany, doing a Clockwork Orange bit where their eyelids are being sort of pried open, so they have to watch the entirety of 21 Jump Street. The movie Cancel Nazism, Vosh, you cannot insult it. Yeah, I just called it mid to make people angry. I've never seen 21 Jump Street. I have no idea what it's about. It seems to be about... I have no idea what it's about looking at the cover. I have no clue. So yeah. Why are we taking this seriously? Well, first of all, Nazism is not a serious ideology. So, you work with what you get. Second of all, as unserious as Kanye West is, and as unserious as the entire situation is, isn't it clear that his frivolous, unserious, deranged behavior, whether it's perceived as good or bad, is sincerely him? Like, just because something is deranged doesn't mean that it doesn't have an influence on people's behavior. Lots of stuff is deranged all the time. Far more things than I'm comfortable with are deranged. And if his derangement leads him in a direction that is funny in this way, then I think that's very preferable to his derangement leading him to other directions. It's not sincere, but it's authentic. I have no idea. I couldn't possibly make a guess at whether or not it's sincere. It is, however, very funny. Can't we take that at least? And it's very possible. And I'm hoping this is the case. It might not be the case, but I'm hoping that this is the case. It's not impossible that like a year from now, we're going to get a documentary or a biopic or something where he's talking normally. And by normally, I mean he sounds like he did 10 years ago, and he's not pretending to sound white like he did in that unhinged interview with Tucker Carlson. And he's like, yeah, so I got off my meds. I was really upset. I was really, really upset, and like I said a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm really sorry, man. Yeah, I was in a bad place at the time. I would never disrespect my Jewish people when I'm in a, good mood or what. Like, yeah, my Jewish brothers were, yeah. He believed the anti-Semitic stuff before he was off his meds too. Yes. But do keep in mind that well, first of all, he's always been unhinged, at least for a long time. Black Hebrew Israelitism is actually a really common hate movement in the black community. By really common, I don't mean it's like every black person, obviously, but I would say that black Hebrew Israelite tendencies are probably about as common in black people as white nationalist tendencies are in white people, which is to say it's not all of them at all, but like in some communities, it's a lot of them, and it's a worrying amount like altogether. You know what I mean? Common is a strong word here. Yeah, obviously it is. We're kind of playing, sort of guess. Work here. Didn't Ice Cube do that? Was it Ice Cube or the other person, Ice-T? It was one of the Ices who did that. Nick Cannon got a lot of... I remember when Nick Cannon said that shit and got a lot of support from other black people. It probably runs along the lines of being poorly educated. It's a trauma response. Black people go through a lot in this country, and as a product of that, a lot of them cling on to ideologies that give them a sense of purpose and power. I mean, that's what Nazism is to white people, after all. Like, people don't become Nazis because they're doing well up here. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that people dive into because things are going all right in their head. So, it varies. It bounces around. Is white nationalism a trauma response as well, then? Yes, to an imaginary set of problems, whereas black Hebrew Israelitism is a trauma response to an actual set of problems. And for that reason, I'm a lot more sympathetic to people who fall into it. Still bad, but, black Hebrew Israelitism, like, what are black people facing in this country? A lot. What are white people facing in this country? I mean, can't dance? I don't know. Can't jump, let alone 21 times on the street. Keep going, Kanye, you king. Did you see Rogan overdosing on Hitler particles? Huh? What is this? 1 month ago? Oh yeah, I saw this. This was Joe Rogan saying like Jews like money. Yeah, I saw this. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, yeah. One of the most interesting things that I've noticed about Nazism in particular is the open embrace of categorical hypocrisy. They hate black people because they think black people are savage and violent, but they laud and celebrate white people's capacity for institutional violence. They laud the police and the military. When black people, in any capacity, cause harm to others, it's because they're animals. But when white people do so, it's because their glorious, imperial history demands they fight for blood and nation and blah, blah. You'll have people who say, oh, well, Jews are obsessed with money. Andrew Tate has literally said he doesn't enjoy sex, and the only reason he's alive is to make as much money as possible to compete with other men. Andrew Tate has literally said, like, I have no purpose other than the acquisition of shallow commodities in a capitalist system. And yet, a lot of Nazis like Andrew Tate. So, what are you going to do? Open hypocrisy.
The podcast host, Joe Rogan, is now facing criticism after he pushed the anti-Semitic trope that Jewish people are, quote, into money Here's what he said.
Ilhan Omar, where she's
Ilhan?
apologizing for talking about it's all about the Benjamins.
Yeah.
Which is just about money. She's talking about
She
money.
shouldn't have apologized.
That
I mean,
was
I'll go ahead and
that's not an
say it.
anti-Semitic statement. I don't think that is. It's about Benjamins or money. You know, the idea that Jewish people are not into money is ridiculous.
Listen.
That's like saying Italians aren't into pizza. It's stupid.
CNN.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of what Donald Trump said. Like, I don't know, back in the 90s or 80s or something, where he was like, I like my Jews doing my accounting or something. Isn't this old? It's like a month old. Pretty bad, yeah. Vosh, okay, but does that really sound malicious, though? He's saying that kind of facetiously. I think the thing that makes it malicious is the fact that he's drawing a comparison to Italians, to whom pizza is kind of like an actual ethnic artifact. You know what I like when people make jokes about pizza in Italian, the reason why it's like kind of flippant and irreverent isn't because Italians aren't associated with pizza. They are. It's because it's not a big deal. Like, it's not really, like, it doesn't really matter, you know? But the association between Jews and money does matter. It's actually the root of basically all anti-Semitism, in the West, at least.